I like hanging out with you more than Billy. Like, I'll be honest with you, so I'll just cut to the chase. I mean, you ask better questions. Billy's just Billy,
But
I still love him too.
Burns, let's admit it though. You've quote unquote partied with me. I go to bed at 8, and Billy parties. So I'm terrible to hang out with, but I'm probably good to do an interview with.
Doesn't party anymore. Like old school Billy, like might have. Like he's an old man now as well. Like we actually all are. Like my back hurts. I was just on vacation with the kiddos. My back hurts from doing a damn puzzle. So like again, like trust me, it's hell getting old, but it beats the alternative. And we're finally here for college football. So praise the Lord about that.
So Burns, let's put your fan hat on for a minute. I know you're an LSU fan, and I think you're a UTSA fan, right? Because you went to school there.
Yeah. I pull for the Roadrunners. In fact, I was just in San Antonio this last weekend, and I mean they're excited about it. I mean, you and I talked about it well back in the day, about a year ago. About I thought there was a chance that Jeff Traylor, their head coach at UTSA, was going to get the A&M job, and I think that he was somewhat mentioned in that running right now. So I think there's a little bit. I wouldn't say an axe to grind, because I think that he respects the hell out of Mike Elko and understood why Elko got that job. But I definitely think there's an extra motivation this week in Kyle Field for Jeff Traylor to say, hey, like I can coach some football as well down here.
Yeah, I'm interested in this game for multiple reasons. A, it's the first game. B, it's an in-state game. C, it's a team like UTSA that has, a couple years ago, they played Texas super tight. I know last year wasn't that good for them against Texas, but they're a team that can move the ball, and that's an area where A&M struggled, especially giving up big plays.
Yeah, I mean, and again, when I talk to people down at UTSA, I mean, they feel as far as roster-wise, 22 to 22. Yes, A&M's going to have better 5-star players, but they feel like they can play with anybody. It's just a matter of when the game gets down to depth. If a couple guys get a little bit banged up, and all of a sudden they get a little bit winded in their first game, what happens when A&M can lean on a roster that Elko has put together and the foundation of a bunch of 3, 4, 5-star guys versus a roster, that's been picked clean because of the transfer portal, right? I mean, like, UTSA is one of those programs that a lot of these teams are starting to deal with, where it feels like a good AA team in baseball, which is, hey, when you got a good player, you probably got them for a year, but then they're going to be on this meteoric rise, so they end up cashing a check somewhere else. And that's just the reality of college football and where we're at right now in 2025.
Burns, do you think most analysts who make these lists actually watch these quarterbacks play? Like Julian Sayin was on the CBS Sport. I'm not saying that they didn't watch, but he's top 5 or 6 quarterbacks in college football. Arch people have seen because he played a little bit, but like, how much quarterback evaluations are people really doing when they're breaking down lists? I know your partner CD, he watches everything, right? You watch everything, but do you think people are really watching all these quarterbacks?
Yeah, I mean, I think to a certain extent. I think the guys and the game analysts themselves, like the guys like Jordan Rodgers and Cole Kubelik and Doring and those guys, they're watching film, and I think those are the guys that can look at it and go, yeah, I like these guys. I don't. I mean, Jordan Rodgers posted something yesterday. I think he was on either this morning or was on Get Up, just saying, listen, I think Arch is good, but not compared to the hype that he's been getting. And so I do think that the majority of them will see some film. And then I think the other bit is that we're all guessing, right? I mean, like, I was getting hell yesterday on Channel 84 on Sirius XM, because after week 1, I'm sitting there, and I don't think it was week 1, but it was going into the season. I thought that, hey, if Connor Wegman stayed healthy, I thought that he had an opportunity to have as much upside as anybody in the conference. And then, of course, the dreaded A&M quarterback injury bug continued, and the rest is history. So I think probably more so than Andy, and I don't know how you feel, but this is definitely how I feel, we feel more naked going into this season about what we truly know, just because there's so much roster turnover year to year.
100% agree with you. But a quarterback quite well is Garrett Nussmeier, and Kay Klubnik's been playing college football forever. This is a huge game, I think, for both head coaches. Not that it makes or breaks either of their seasons, but like BK's got to win that first game. And I think Dabo has stuck to his guns of the way he wants to build a program. And this team is a veteran team for Dabo. So just kind of give me your thoughts heading into that one, which, again, a lot on the line, but with this expanded playoff, it's still room to grow.
Yeah, I mean, I think I definitely lean that there's more pressure, not is the job on the line type pressure for Brian Kelly, because he's safe unless LSU goes 2-10. I mean, unless he went full Mike Norvell at Florida State, he'll be back over at in Baton Rouge next year. But LSU's lost 5 straight openers. I mean, that just can't happen. There used to be a time where LSU, after A&M used to whoop them all the days, and back in the early 90s, like if you played LSU in an opener, you're getting your butt whooped, and that has not been the case. And so, Brian Kelly's changed a lot of things in Baton Rouge, the way that they've handled their practices, the way they put more of an onus on this week one, because that's where I push back a little bit. There's a chance that these wheels, the wheels of the LSU bus can get real shaky if they go out there and they lay an egg like Florida laid an egg against Miami last year. All of a sudden, man, everybody starts wondering, oh my God, just can Brian Kelly do it? And then in 2 weeks later, you got Florida coming into town. In DJ Lagway, if he's 100% healthy, that's a dangerous game. So there's a lot of pressure on LSU. The difference is this year, though, LSU has a defense. I mean, this will be the best defense that LSU has had, at least on paper, since probably like 2017, 2018. I mean, even better, their defense wasn't great in 2019, but it was a good speed bump for that historic offense. But they haven't had a true LSU defense like this. I mean, hell, maybe even 10 years.
Talking to Peter Burns here on TexAgs Live. Peter, when we talk about this Ohio State-Texas game, one angle that I didn't really think about, I think it was Billy who brought it up on the show on Monday, was the fact that, Ohio State not only lost a lot of players, they lost major coordinators too. How much does that play a factor in Texas going to the Shoe and having this matchup where there are a lot of questions on the rosters, but I think Texas at least brings back a big part of their defense?
Billy must be copying my notes. I mean, because I tweeted that earlier this week about I think both rosters are elite, right? I mean, if you look at the recruiting rankings, Ohio State's always going to have a deep roster. Texas, over the last couple of years, has a deep roster. Both head coaches are solid. They've been there before. But the fact that Jim Knowles goes from Ohio State over to Penn State, that's a big change because you're bringing in Matt Patricia, who's never coached on a coordinator level or even assistant coach on a collegiate level. I mean, of course, he was there in the NFL for a long time, but how much can you adapt that right off the jump? And then on the other side, you got Brian Hartline, who has never called plays ever before, and a quarterback who's never started a game. So, I mean, if you're going to tell me that everything is equal and I look for small little incremental things that change this game, it's going to be coordinators and the consistency that Texas has had. And then B, yeah, maybe Arch is not worthy of all the hype that's been stowed upon him. That's not Arch's fault, but at least he started a couple of games. He's been in that offense for 3 years with Sark. They know what they want to run, as opposed to saying, Julian coming in and having to learn a new offense. And how much is Ryan Day going to be involved in that offense versus Hartline? Like, I've talked to first-time offensive coordinators. It's hard as hell to call plays and to do it in a good rhythm. So to think that they hit the ground running is shocking. I don't know who wins that LSU Clemson game. I'm very confident in Texas going up to the Horseshoe and coming away with the victory on Saturday.
PB, I don't think I've talked to you since SEC Media Days, but I'm fairly sure you went to the Big Ten Media Days in Vegas. How was that? Like, how did that compare to what we're used to in the SEC?
I mean, it was like going to an accounting convention. I mean, it was so weird. I mean, you know how it is, man. There's a buzz around the SEC when people walk through the building. Certain players, certain coaches, the fans are there. There's a lot of media and in everything. Again, it felt like a little bit of an accounting or banking convention. That's why I wanted to go out there. It was in Vegas. I was like, you know what? I can't keep dunking on the Big Ten and not experience it a little bit more. And I went out there and I realized that there's probably out of 18 teams that they have, there's probably 7 or 8 of those teams that truly care about football and they live, breathe, and eat, sleep, die about college football. And the other 10 teams are like, yeah, we got a good football team, but we like basketball, or football is okay, it's great. It's not, but I mean, And the lifeblood of the SEC is every one of the schools, especially even now Vanderbilt, there's 16 teams that give a damn, that like the whole football season is booked around what their favorite team is doing. And I think that's the reason why that, the Big Ten has some great brands to it, but there's really only 2 or 3 teams that are pulling the weight, and the rest of it is a bunch of kind of schedule filler.
Burns, I appreciate you, sir. We'll talk to you next week.
Can't wait for it.